All right. So the other day I was browsing through Amazon and I found this, a pair of truly wireless earbuds with active noise canceling. Nothing new, but these truly wireless earbuds are $60. And that got me thinking, $60 is really cheap for true wireless earbuds, and $60 is really cheap for true wireless earbuds with active noise canceling. So, are they any good? Well, let's find out. Hello, and welcome to Gadget Conquest. Today we're talking about the AUKEY True Wireless Earbuds. That's literally what they're called. They don't have any other kind of branding. There is a model number on the box, EP-N5, but as far as the name goes, it's just True Wireless Earbuds. And while we're talking about the box, let's go through it a little bit. So the packaging is pretty nondescript. It's just a really basic cardboard box. It's got the AUKEY logo on it, and then it just has the True Wireless Earbuds and a little illustration of what you're going to get in there. And that's about it. There's of course your legal stuff on the back and the model number. AUKEY is actually pretty known for doing this kind of stuff. I actually have two other AUKEY products. I have a keyboard that I bought from them and also a USB hub, and they both came in this this just nondescript cardboard box, which seems to be a maybe a cost-saving issue. Is it an issue? Would you call it an issue? I wouldn't call it an issue. A cost-saving measure. Let's call it a measure. In order for them to, I guess, give you the lowest possible price for these things. And that's really what we come down to with this, is the price. These are $60. And at that price point, you're competing with nothing. I don't think there are any other competitors with active noise canceling at the $60 price point. I have here also a pair of Google Pixel Buds, and these are $180, and they don't have active noise canceling. In fact, I think the cheapest pair of wireless earbuds that you'll get with active noise canceling is $199. So it's really, really interesting to see this at $60. Now, before I get into the earbuds and how they feel and whatnot, let's just go over the case real quick. The case is a soft touch feeling plastic. It is definitely a plastic case. You can feel that right off the bat, but it doesn't have any creaks. Like if I squeeze it, you know how cheap plastic items tend to get that weird creaking sound when you squeeze them. There's none of that here. The hinge actually feels really, really good. It has this really satisfying snapping sound. And the hinge, even being made out of plastic as well, operates very, very well for what it is. The only downside I would say to the feel of the case itself is the fact that it does feel pretty light as compared to my Google Pixel Buds. The case is a little bit bigger. I wouldn't say it's too much bigger. I carried these around for about a week in my pocket, in my backpack, and I honestly didn't really notice that much of a difference compared to my Google Pixel Buds, which are my daily drivers, but there is a noticeable weight difference. Like this case being much, like, I don't know, maybe 10-15% bigger than my Pixel Buds case. You would expect it to be a little bit heavier, but it feels like it's 30% lighter, which kind of gives it a bit of a cheap feeling on top of the fact that it does feel like plastic. But other than that, I'd say it's actually pretty well made, and there's no glaring issues. Everything is really just nitpicking at this point, but there are a couple nitpicky details that I am going to bring up. So first of all is the soft touch. This soft touch, the way that they textured this plastic in order to make it soft touch like this, has made it pretty easy to leave marks on. I wouldn't call them scratches. They don't have any depth to them, but they are noticeably there, and no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to rub them off. I do keep these in the same pocket as my keys, which for my Google Pixel Buds doesn't seem to be an issue, although maybe it's just because this is a white soft touch material, but I don't really think so. I think it's just the quality of the plastic that they're using. It's just not at the same level. The other thing that I noticed as far as the look and feel goes is the hinge opens at a perfect 90-degree angle, which I never would have thought I would complain about, but when you go to pull out the earbud, the hinge, the top of the lid here actually scratches your finger as you pull out the earbud, so you have to pull it out in a specific manner so that your finger doesn't get scratched by the lid itself. It's a really weird, very, very specific detail, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I did notice it almost immediately, and it wasn't really something that I knew was a thing until after I opened it and found that, and I've tested that on Google Pixel Buds here. I also have a pair of Samsung Galaxy Buds, and I even borrowed my sister's pair of AirPods Pro to see if the case opens at a greater than 90-degree angle, and it does. So it seems that this was just a strange oversight. I'm not really sure how else to put it. Now, as for the earbuds themselves, they carry on this same matte black soft touch plastic feeling all the way through. They have very, very clearly labeled, you can't see them from here, but I'll do another shot. Very, very clearly labeled, very large letters of which one is the right and which one is the left bud, which in comparison to my Pixel Buds have a very tiny, very, very minuscule little letter printed on that looks like it might just over time fade away, maybe. And these can be difficult to see in bright daylight, but nevertheless, they are there. As for these, they are sort of embossed, maybe pushed in, like inversely embossed, if that's a thing. They're pushed in, it's the plastic itself is pushed in, and it's very large, so you would not miss these at all, and there's no way that they would fade away, which is really, really cool. I will say that the earbud itself, not the stem of it, but the main portion that goes in your ear is actually fairly large. They are very reminiscent of AirPods Pros, but they do just seem to be quite a bit bigger. As I put them in my ear, the ear tip itself seems to almost not be long enough to get as far in as it needs to be because of how ungodly big the bud portion is, and it might have to do with the drivers. These do advertise having 10mm drivers, and I mean, they have the loudness to support that, but it is kind of a weird thing. I did notice that as they were in my ear, they weren't creating as tight a seal, and they weren't as noise isolating as they really should be. And I think that's why, and it really might just come down to the fact that I have very, very tiny ears. I have the smallest ears of anyone I know, so it could have something to do with that. Maybe you, with your normal human ears, would do much better than I did, but that's just something to keep in mind. Now that we've gone over the look and feel of these things, let's actually talk about how do they sound. They're earbuds, after all. They should at least sound kind of good. And honestly, and this is comparing them to my Google Pixel Buds, they're not bad. They do pretty well at every range. They even kind of handle the bass even better than my Google Pixel Buds do. Like, there's more of it, although it is kind of flat. They're earbuds. You're not gonna have super punchy bass. You're not going to feel the bass, you know what I mean? But they do very well. They punch well above their weight class, and I have no real complaints about them, except for one kind of weird issue with the volume. So I use these in two different setups. I use them on my phone, which is a OnePlus 7T, and I use them on my laptop, which is a MacBook Pro 15-inch. I think it's the last model just before the 16-inch came out. And on my MacBook, these things were so loud that I had to lower the volume to the absolute bottom on my MacBook, one bar away from being muted. So we're thinking maybe 5% volume in order for them to be bearable. And even at that point, I had to go into the software. So I listen to Spotify on my laptop while I work, and I had to go into Spotify software and change the volume in Spotify on top of already having my laptop volume at 5% just to keep these from deafening me. So the 10mm drivers that they have in here really, really like to make some noise. And that's great if you love ear-splittingly loud music, and it's not great if you like to keep your hearing. And it's also pretty inconsistent on my OnePlus 7T. The volume control was considerably better. They really listened more to that volume rocker than they did on the one on my laptop, and it might just be the case where, because my phone only has a single source for volume control, whereas my laptop has two sources for volume control, these kind of got confused by that, and they couldn't really understand what the source of truth should have been, and that's what caused the issue. But my Google Pixel Buds, which I will probably keep bringing out every time during this video, as they are my daily drivers, they don't have that issue. My Samsung Galaxy Buds don't have that issue, and my sister's iPod Pros did not have that issue. So maybe a firmware update could fix it, although I did not find any software for these. There was no app or anything that I could download, at least that I could find, or that was in this in the manual in here. Was there a manual? I don't even remember if there was a manual. Oh, there was a manual on how to connect them. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about the main reason that I paid $60 for these things. The active noise canceling. Does it work? Yeah, it totally works. It's not AirPods Pro level, but it's a quarter of the price, you know? It's actually under a quarter of the price. I believe the AirPods Pro sell for $249.99, and these are $60, so they do work though, especially for repetitive sounds, things that just drum along. While I was at work, I put these on and I could no longer hear the sound of the AC. I could no longer hear the sound of the fan that was blowing right next to me. It did a really good job of drowning those sounds out. What it did not do a good job of drowning out was voices. In fact, even with the just regular noise isolation that you would get from in-ear earbuds that have these silicone tips, it didn't work. The active noise canceling, even the passive noise isolation, none of it worked. Everyone speaking near me I could hear, even people speaking down the hall just kind of loudly. I could hear perfectly fine, as if I wasn't even wearing the earbuds at all, and that's honestly kind of disappointing. The whole reason I would even want active noise canceling is to drown out the sound of all of the meetings going around me. Everyone around me is always having a meeting. It's always happening. Everybody's on their webcam having a meeting. Everybody's always talking, and I'm just trying to groove in my own head and listen to nothing, and these do not allow me to do that. Now, if I'm listening to music, it's a different story. These things get so freaking loud that the active noise canceling isn't even, it's honestly, these things get so loud you don't need active noise canceling on them. That's the easiest way to say it. The active noise canceling is completely useless when you put the music on because you can't hear anything anyway. These things will deafen you. They're so loud. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Normally, the issue that I have with cheap or even kind of cheap wireless earbuds is they don't get loud enough. So these get really, really loud. And honestly, even at max volume, while it definitely distorted the music and there was plenty of clipping, it wasn't the worst I have heard at that level. Honestly, they did respectably for what they could do.